Welcome everybody. We are back with another Kungpaokenny podcast. This is episode 5. We're back talking about League with the boys. I have Trivia Boy back with me. I have Syndicate Lincoln back with me. We're missing Mr. Alex, but it is what it is. We're just gonna move on. Hello everybody. How are you guys doing? Good? Bad?
Doing good.
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
The tanks got a little bit nerfed in pre-season, so I can play the game a little bit better again. I don't have to have Mumu soloing Baron at 20 minutes.
Yes, a
Looks
Mumu
pretty good.
soloing Baron at 20 minutes with 2 items. Great meta.
Okay. Other than a preseason, which we could get into for a long time, we have a lot of things to talk about in the pro scene this week. A lot of stuff that we missed over the 2 weeks that we've been not doing league content with free agency. So let's first cover the really big moves. The first thing I want to cover are the 2 big retirements. We have Bjergsen and Doublelift, 2 mainstays of the LCS of the NA region, retire simultaneously together after this year at Worlds. Bjergsen moving on to the head coach position at TSM. Doublelift a little more uncertain about his future. What we know is that he's not playing anymore. What are your guys' reactions to these retirements? What do you guys think? What legacy have they left behind?
I mean, I don't know if we want to have the who's the NA GOAT argument right now. It's pretty funny because they retired together, so there's no more like they're not winning champions. Like one of them's retired, They're just like that's their legacy, right? And
it's cute. I mean, they retired together. It's like so cute.
Yeah, I think it's. No, I was gonna just say it's very much like a 1A 1B situation. It's hard to kind of pick straws, and at the end of the day, I think it helps that they both retired together off the same team, off their same performances, because it makes it like a lot. It makes it feel like okay, like this is the end of an era almost, and with I know we'll get to it a little bit later, but looking at a lot of the new rosters for NA this year, it feels like with all the changes to everything, it feels like it is very much a breath of fresh air, a bunch of new talent coming in. So I think it's exciting, but I'm interested to see how TSM does with Coach Bjergsen and see if we can see his kind of personal influence on the way the team plays.
Yeah. Just as a side note, as a TSM fan, when TSM blew up the roster in 2017, I was oh man, is this really the right move? Mm-hmm. But after that World's performance, I have no problem with them blowing up the team. But at least they got to go out on top, right, in NA. Besides the World's performance, Bjergsen and Doublelift, they get one more split together. Yeah. They make the comeback run, to win a championship. In Game 5, go out on top. And I think with a lot of the changes, kind of with this new season, a lot of a shift, more emphasis on, okay, we're going to develop more talent. We're going to just let these young players get a chance. I think it felt right. I was really sad about it, but then I was like, you know what? This is probably their best time to retire, I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
For sure.
It's just really sad because I feel like if they just went 3-3 at Worlds, like every other NA team, the legacy would have been a perfect ending. Right?
Oh,
it's fine. Sure. You didn't pass through. Nobody passed through. It's just they went 0-6, and that kind of just overshadowed everything.
I think Worlds never happened.
Yeah, Worlds just pretend it didn't happen.
I always forget that they won NA. When somebody says that, I'm like, oh wait, they did. They won a local championship. That's a really good achievement. You're in a major region, and it's just it just completely overshadowed.
I mean, the thing for me is even if Worlds happened, obviously it would have been incredible. They make it out of groups, they go to quarterfinals. Who knows what could happen? Even if they make it to quarterfinals, that's an achievement.
Yes.
But the fact that I think somebody described it as, I was browsing Reddit and they had the Chinese reactions to X player or Y move. They had Chinese players react to Doublelift retirement, and the big thing, one of the joke / super thoughtful comments was you never made it past the top 16, but you were top 16 every year.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy to think about, the fact that Doublelift made Worlds from NA. I think was it every year or was it almost every year?
Not season 3 and 4, but every other season.
But every other season he made it to Worlds. So you know, you look at him and you say like, yeah, he didn't go out on top internationally, but there's no doubt that he's one of the best like North American players to ever play the game.
He's
So
probably the best North American AD carry in terms of just like achievement and legacy.
by far.
And by far.
yeah,
right?
by
It's not
far
even
AD
close,
carry.
right?
So, like, I think this was a great time to go out. I think somebody else said like, when you look back at, you know, season 1, season 2, almost everybody who was playing at that time, you know, has kind of gone off
Yep.
and done their own thing, whether it's coaching, whether it's now just streaming and whatnot. So I think, yeah, it felt like a good time for him to kind of call it quits. I feel like he might have had one more year in him, but
It's okay, dude. End
it's
on
sad.
top, you know?
It's
End
an
on
era.
top. You don't want to
Yeah.
have the whole like, you're just putt like until your engine dies into retirement. It's just depressing. Like nobody wants to see that. Anyway,
Yeah.
before we leave, so now we have Doublelift's entire career. What does his trophy case look like again? Like,
I think he has.
actually, what are we looking at? Because we have, was it 6 LCS champ? 5 or 6 LCS
It's
champ?
probably 6.
It's
I think he had
6, right?
CLG 2015.
Yep.
1, 2,
TSM 1, 2, or 3.
4. Wait, he had 8?
He might have 8
Wait, yeah.
because he won
He might have 8.
4
Wait.
back to back.
Yeah, he
on
won back to
Link-
back
Yeah.
to back to back. He
Yeah.
won, okay, CLG 2015, TSM 2016, TSM 2017, TL 2018 spring summer, TL 2019 spring summer, and then
2020
and then
summer.
TSM 2020.
That's 7?
8.
8. Wow.
Yeah.
8 championships, dude.
He could have had
8.
9 if he didn't take the
year
break
off,
to
Yeah.
or the split off, yeah.
That's crazy.
Eight of those made worlds almost every year that he
year.
was part of the LCS, MSI semifinal
yeah,
MSI
the
final.
MSI. That was it was finalists, right? They were finalists. They just
Yeah, it
lost
was finalist, not semifinal. It's
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
But
Dude, that's crazy.
yeah, like he's
Did he
got a
win
long
MVP?
list of accolades.
He won MVP in 2018.
Okay, so he has 1
Yeah.
MVP, 8 championships, a finalist at MSI. That's a legacy right there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, okay. Now that we've moved
And
on
every
from NA,
team that Doublelift left was, except for TL this year, it's like, you know, the way you evaluate players is where do they come to and what happens to the team after they leave? Every team that kicked Doublelift, well, except TL, but, you know,
Yeah.
regretted kicking Doublelift.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Okay, before we move on, actually, what about Bjergsen's trophy case? What does it look like?
Yes.
Does he have 1 or 2 MVPs?
He's like 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
I think
Okay,
it's
never
more
mind.
than that, dude.
He
It's
got
three,
MVP
I
like
think.
every year, pretty much. Like he got one in like 2014 spring, 2015 spring, 2016 summer, and 2017 summer. Yeah, he's
Okay.
got like he's got MVPs. And honestly, he could have had more if his.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
How many championships? I think. Let me think.
2014 summer, 2015 spring, 2016 summer, 2017 spring, 2017 summer, and then he didn't win anything, and then he went 2020 summer. 6. He has 6.
CS6.
Yeah. 6.
Sick.
Still
What a
pretty
trophy case
good.
from both of
Yeah.
you. What a trophy
Yeah.
case. Anyway, now that we've talked about that the retirement home of NA, let's move on to the big moves in terms of active players. C9.Perkz, everybody. C9.Perkz and TSM.SwordArt, which we're going to be talking about together. 2 of the largest contract deals, possibly in esports history. A buyout of $5 million confirmed from C9.Perkz. We don't know what his actual contract was. Trust me, I've tried to find it with no avail. The only rumored number that we have is that the total, like everything together with the contract, the buyout plus is about $11 million.
We
Yeah.
don't know how.
That's-
We don't know how many. Do we know
that's
how
a-
many years he's signed for?
No. It might have been. Oh, I don't remember, man.
Is
Is it 2 or is that SwordArt's contract?
SwordArt's
I think
contract
Sword Art
is
is 2.
Oh, okay.
SwordArt is 2 for 6 years. Sorry, 2 for 6 million. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Because
like a role player in the NBA. It's the-
Yeah, but hey, we're getting there.
the
We're getting
mid-level
there.
we're
exception.
getting there. We're getting there. The thing is, like, if Perkz is 11 million total, 5 million buyout, that means 6 million for how many years? Because if it's a 2-year contract, then it's on par with Sword Art. I can't imagine
It's either
C9
2
paying
or
6
3.
million for 1 year.
I think it's 2 or 3.
So
And the thing that so Jack went on. I think Jack was talking to Thorin after the deal was signed, And his whole thing, his whole view on the Perkz signing was that Perkz isn't leaving. He's not leaving for a long time. He wants to keep Perkz signed onto C9.
Yeah.
He wants Perkz to be part of C9 for a very long time. Whether that will work out or not is, you know, up in the air, but like that's his goal with the signing.
And that's completely fair. Like, and I think, you know, it goes back to the whole, you know, even sport, like regular sports mentality. You know, you sign a player on a 2-year contract. Let's say the $6 million is for 2 years. That would put him on par with SwordArt. I can see that. Let's say it's 2 years. That gives Perkz 2 years of basically seeing how C9 does, and knowing that C9 is, you know, consistently a top 4 minimum team in the LCS. You know, you look at that roster, and Jack can say, you know, we've got young players that we can build around. You know, Perkz, I think, looking at this roster, is one of the oldest players on the roster. So
he's not even that old. He's like 23 or something.
Yeah, he's not even that old.
Yeah.
So like, you have Jack, who can basically say, we can give you money, we can give you a roster that will build, that can you know, build around you. You look at Blabber, who is a carry jungler who like had good synergy with his mid laner. You look at Fudge, who's supposedly, you know, a top talent that they were willing to let go of Licorice for, and Sven and Vulcan were the
best LCS bot lane.
Bot lane, yeah.
Like,
they're better than Tactical and Core JJ.
Like, I was about to say Core JJ Tactical, but Core JJ was a better support.
I think this year it's Core JJ Tactical. I think they will grow, and like I think Tactical grows a lot this year. Apparently, he's set up a Korean boot camp. He's ready. That boy's ready.
No, he's back in NA.
No, but like they're trying to set up a Korean boot camp for him to
yeah, I think it ended because
really?
Tactical is back in NA now because he's playing in the in-houses with Core.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, I think, I mean, a bit of a tangent here. If we're talking best bot lane in NA, you have to keep an eye on FBI and Huhi because they're still together. And I think they
just for now. I think
for now.
That's true.
Like the projected.
Like you look at it. You've got a top 3 bot lane in the LCS. You've got a top 3 jungler in the LCS, and you've got a top laner who is replacing a top 3 top laner in the LCS. And you have Perkz, who's coming in as the best mid lane.
The best mid in NA.
So like
not even close.
You look at this roster. This is a top 3 roster with, you know, championship like easy championship aspirations.
Easy, dude.
And if Jack can basically tell Perkz, I can give you this for, you know, the first 2 years, and if Perkz likes it after the 2 years, you know, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't want to stay.
Steven, thoughts?
Yeah, the Perkz signing, I mean, this doesn't put... Now, I think C9 is definitely a top 2 team, like, just on paper, they're a top 2 team. But...
What do you think number 1
it's
is
interesting. I think because Perkz kind of... I don't think he was playing as well as AD carry as he was in mid lane, especially for the later part of G2. So I think this is a good move. If he was gonna get replaced on AD carry, I was like half expecting him to go to Fnatic, but
I mean that was the rumor, dude. That was pretty much what was probably gonna be that, right? It was like FNC was there trying to get Perkz, but then G2 didn't want to, you know, sell it to them. To them.
Yeah, like it's a cash out move by Perkz, but it's also C9 out of all the NA teams has the best chance of doing something internationally.
Yeah,
like they've always been like, you know, not an international contender, but
NA's international representative.
Yeah, NA's like, you know, they'll make playoffs. They'll make the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you look at NA, like Perkz wouldn't go to FlyQuest. 1 because of the rebuild, and 2 because they don't have enough money. He's not going to go to TSM. Because TSM's, you know, just TSM. Like that's another like thing altogether. And he's not going to go to TL because TL's plenty happy with Jensen.
Yeah, no, they're not replacing.
So you look at that, like if C9's gonna, if Perkz is gonna go anywhere in NA for, you know, international aspirations, it's got to be C9.
Yeah,
it's the team that makes the most sense on paper, and, you know, from a, I guess, intangible level, you've got an owner that is passionate, that's willing to make, you know, sweeping moves. I don't see anything really wrong.
When Thorin was talking to Jack, apparently a lot of the reason why Perkz picked C9 was that apparently him and Jack view a lot of things the same way. They like get along really well, and they kept having phone conversations, and apparently like that was really what pushed the decision for him to go to C9, and they had the money to buy him out. So yeah, that was the move. And the next one we're looking at, TSM.SwordArt. a really interesting move, because if you'll remember a month ago on like our first or second episode of this podcast, at least we were talking about NA free agency, and we were like, maybe there aren't going to be any Chinese imports this year because of COVID. I guess I was wrong. We have one import. We have SwordArt, a very successful regional champion, right? He was
multi-regional champion.
Did he win in China?
Multi-regional. Well, okay.
He won in Taiwan. I don't think he won in China.
He won in Taiwan. Did he win?
He won in Taiwan.
No, he didn't win. Suning never won in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Suning never won in China, but he was plenty successful in region and plenty successful internationally.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he got the world finals.
Yeah, you look at SwordArt, and like, he definitely did well domestically in Taiwan. I don't think Suning did terribly well in China, like as a region, but you can't deny that he's got some, like, you look at the rest of the LCS, I think he's probably up there for some of the most worlds experience in the entire.
Oh, for sure, because he's been making worlds since like season 5.
Yeah,
he
I think he made it in season 3.
Part of it
actually,
is because he was in like coming to worlds almost every year from Flash Wolves, which was just an amazing team. But I think the one thing that I'm excited about SwordArt more than anything is that in his TSM kind of like reveal, like announcement video, he specifically said, I want TSM to play more aggressively. I want to bring some of that Chinese aggression to the team. And I think you look at TSM at Worlds, but you also look at NA just as a whole. We could use a little bit more of that. And I think
agree.
if SwordArt is willing to, step up and be a bit more of a shot caller on this team, which I think is plenty possible, I think, he's going to have that ability to make TSM go in a bit more, which I think they were definitely missing out on.
Yeah. It's funny to me how the thing is with support imports, especially, is just how they're integrated into the team, and a lot of the value of support players is the intangibles, right?
Yeah.
Like Core JJ brings so much to a team.
Oh yeah.
But like not only in his skill, like just how he like if you've seen like the coaching, the in-house and stuff like that, like.
Well, you watch. I mean, this again a bit of a tangent, but I know I've been watching a whole lot of the core in-houses, and like you can watch it from whoever's perspective you want, right? You watch it from any of the players that are streaming it. You watch it from Flowers, who enjoys casting it. But like whenever I watch Core's stream, he's like the one who's talking the most by far. 50% of the conversation is him, and I think the last couple of days he's been duoing with Tactical. And you can just feel the amount of power control, like respect, I guess, that people have for him and his shot calling. Because when he says, like this is what we want to do, we're engaging, I'm going, like everyone, jumps in and piles in with him. Like no one's afraid of following his kind of shot calling. And I think if SwordArt brings that to TSM with his, a bit more aggressive style, I think that'll be really important.
I think a really cool thing that like I kind of want to talk about for a little bit is that NA seems to import supports a lot, and I think support in general when it comes to NA, again, this whole like in-game leader type of role coming from the support position seems to be very apparent in NA. Core JJ moving, we have people like Ignar, we have people like, again, SwordArt now who are playing support. Do you think that like does the order of roles, as in like the how do I describe this? Like, is support a much more important role in NA compared to any other region, or do you think this is just like the way it is?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like
I know it's a difficult question. Like
the thing is like with an NA historically, I think the positions where they've actually been strong are the bot lane positions. Although I'm trying to think.
Do you think that's because of importing? Because like you look at the best bot lanes right now, and like you look at FBI Huhi, which is both, one's OC and one's
he's NA.
And one NA
yeah,
technically.
they're both NA.
Yeah, you look at
like Huhi like is NA.
Yeah, but like you look at Tactical Core, that's an import slot. Sven import slot. SwordArt now an import slot. So like
that's fair. I mean, Vulcan and Cody Sun were pretty good bot lane. I don't think there's any you can say that. Oh yeah, well Sven's just carrying Vulcan through.
Yeah, I know.
Vulcan's Canadian import, bro.
Canadian import, yeah. He's from Quebec too, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there might be a language barrier there.
Bro,
But
I think if you here's the thing: if you imported a person from Vancouver, I would consider that NA. But then if you're importing from Quebec, I don't think that's it. I think that's a whole different thing.
I'm not trying to get canceled here. But yeah, I think it was I mean, yeah, importing supports can be pretty useful. The issue is like there's always that like cautionary tale whenever you import players. Like there's like well, they're not gonna like fit in the team environment. And I think that's not really role specific. Like
No.
I think a lot of times, like remember like Yellow Star when he was imported, like completely like it was like couldn't integrate into the team.
Yeah.
And like like Febivin or like a lot of these players, like it's not just a positional thing. I think a lot of it is like comes from the players' like motivation of like why they're coming to an NA. And I think one way you can kind of tell is like if they join a top team,
Yeah.
that means like it's usually a good sign.
Yeah.
Like if they're joining like ninth place team,
That's
and they're getting like
retirement
fat
home time,
paycheck.
baby.
It's like like
Okay.
which is why I was actually like I had this discussion with someone. It was like a large portion of imports that come to NA usually don't improve. They either stagnate or they like completely fall off, right? But like I was like citing like Febivin, I think Ryu, there's a couple of Piglet, like a lot of these players, like they come to NA, they'll be good for like a split, but then a split or a year, but then they fall off. But Perkz, I want to say he doesn't seem like the guy that will lays off, especially
the new wave of imports, right? We're genuinely seeing that I hope that the view's starting to change, that like NA's being less and less, again, the joke that it's a retirement home, and like we're seeing Core JJ put his own time into essentially improving the region and believing in a lot of the talent of the region, right? Pushing that. SwordArt coming to TSM is, yes, it's a great buyout, but it's also, I think they believe in the team. You have Bjergsen as the head coach. It's like, who wouldn't want to play under Bjergsen? It just makes sense. Like I think there's hopefully with all these moves, NA will move into a new direction, right? Is the hope.
Yeah.
Not a win with NA. Yeah. Sorry.
That's the hope. That is the hope. We can't say anything outside of that because we don't know how it'll turn out.
Yeah.
But
we hope so. Anyway.
We hope so.
The final move that we want to talk about, G2 Reckless, everybody. A huge, impactful move in the LEC. Reckless leaving Fnatic after 7, 8 years for the same organization.
Yeah,
he played for so long for, everybody thought he was going to be a lifer for Fnatic. Fnatic offered him a large contract, probably the largest contract, and from what we can tell, offered him equity in Fnatic. Probably was part of that contract. I think that was what they mentioned. He turned it down and moved to G2. A huge move. A lot of people really sad. Foster,
I mean,
on Twitter,
man,
on Suicide Watch. Depressing.
I kind of want to see, like, I kind of wish G2, like, remember when G2 was kind of hated?
Yeah.
Like, they were like the villains of the league, and it's like Reckless going to the dark side. Yeah. You can't really use that narrative this time because G2 is actually pretty well liked.
Yeah.
But yeah, your LEC 2021 Spring and Summer Champions will probably be G2. Like,
I think the big thing for me is that there's creating a super team, which is what G2 did, and like to some extent you could look at TL 2018 as being that same equivalent in NA. But I think the thing is for G2, you look at the roster, that's they have top 1 players in every position. Like support, maybe you can argue. I think Hylissang is definitely
he's top 2.
He's top 2 for sure. But I think Reckless definitely the best AD carry. Cap's definitely the best mid laner. Wonder with Alfarigon is the best top laner, and Yanko's jungle like top 2, top 3 at worst.
You can make an argument for self-made, but
yeah. And so you look at that roster,
I think
honestly,
it's really difficult to like compare self-made and Yankos because they play different roles on their team.
They play different roles. They play different styles.
Different roles,
but I think the problem with what I see of G2 is that you talk about getting better from the best, and it's just like, who's going to actually challenge them anymore? Because you look at G2 in the past, and they've had problems performing domestically players take games off.
Bro, I think Fnatic has a decent
seriously.
roster.
Yeah,
I think
Fnatic
Fnatic
has a good roster. I think you're underestimating Fnatic.
I think my problem is just like if G2 and Fnatic, as always, like are the 1-2 in an LEC, I just feel like there's not that same level of, pushing each other. And like maybe like NA doesn't have the same star power in like top 2 teams as the LEC, but like I do feel like the LEC suffers from a bit of depth in its teams. And, come international, time, that could definitely hurt G2 in the long run.
G2's like, they control the spring split. They'll go like 11-7 or something, right? They'll be like, oh yeah, G2 sucks.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, okay guys, let's just start trying. And then they just turn it on. I don't know. G2, like, it always, for like those 2019 splits, they were head and shoulders above anyone else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, and then they got reckless now. And here's the thing. Here's why
it was already a super team.
Dude, this is okay. I have like thoughts about this. In that I think G2 is gonna be like, yes, Fnatic's gonna put up a fight, but I think we're gonna see some amazing League of Legends from this team. Like some really, really good League of Legends. Just because I think that all of their pieces fit really well. The only thing that I would have a problem with is like the only thing that I could foresee as being a problem is that I think traditionally Caps and Jankos are 2 players that like aren't very like, oh, we don't need a lot of farm. We prefer to impact the map in different ways, right? Caps will roam a lot. Jankos essentially just plays as a supportive jungle role, right? That's why we talked about Selfmade and Jankos being 2 very different roles. And they would play towards Wonder most of the time, right? Top lane, just because Wonder, really good player. And that's why, like, I think that was also part of why Perkz was doing so bad. Perkz and Making were doing great because I think they put a lot of resources onto Wonder, put a lot of focus onto Wonder. And now they can put their attention onto bot lane. You have Reckless and Mickey now, which are an insane bot lane, paired with Jankos, who can play very supportive towards Reckless, who's a person who can sap up all the resources and carry. You have Caps who can play towards either side, whatever they want. And the only thing that I like, and I think that's super strong, right? Because Reckless was performing that well with Hylissang when they had Selfmade as a jungler, and he was playing like Graves and Hecarim and all this shit. Like Jankos can play a bunch of stuff that can support Reckless, and like I think that just makes him even stronger. The only thing that like I would even think about is like maybe Wonder now has to play weak side, and that's like not very comfortable for him.
Reckless can play weak side.
Reckless can play weak side. That's the thing.
They can do anything they want. This team is so stacked. It's insane.
Yeah, and I think the crazy thing. Sorry, I'll let Steven go first, and then I'll.
Oh, I was gonna say, there's no way of playing that this G2 roster can't do.
Yeah.
Like Reckless can play mages too. Like,
I know he doesn't.
Perkz,
I know,
but
it's not the same level as Perkz. But like, you look at the roster and you think, and I think this is like a completely different tangent, and I'll say it briefly. I think with the current preseason, I think there's a lot more potential for AD mid laners, which means you need to find AP threats somewhere else. So potentially, if Reckless can like expand his champion pool to include 1 AP champion in the bot lane, like that could be really big. That's all I'm gonna say.
Not complete garbage.
But I mean, to go off your point earlier, Kenny, to say that like Jankos and Wonder are willing to like Jankos is willing to play more supportive, and Caps wants to roam and like impact the map and farm champions as opposed to farm minions. You think back to like 2018, 2019 Fnatic, Reckless on Sivir, he would be hoovering up minions in the mid lane, then rotating down to bot lane to pick up, and he played really well on those champions where you just farm up, and then come 35 minutes you just kind of one-shot things. And I think if you have a roster where Mickey X wants to roam, Jankos wants to roam, Caps wants to kill things, you have a death ball, and then you have like Reckless just in a lane farming until G2 killed like 3 people in the mid lane, I guess I can now push even further. And so I think you said it as well, like there's no style that this team can't play. I think this team is extremely flexible in the ways they can play, whether it's split push top, whether it's a 1-3-1, whether it's an ADC carry, whether it's a mid carry. I think this team has so much
genuinely
potential.
Skill gap at an international level. Like it's getting to the point
Yeah.
where G2 essentially like is the probably like to me the first Western team where I can see I'm like, yo, you can actually skill gap some games. Not like maybe the top international teams, but
No.
they can definitely skill gap some games.
Like I would definitely
is
like
a
look at
team
the
that,
roster.
like,
What?
I swear, you can
No.
like any other team does their draft, they probably end, and then
Yeah.
G2 just does it, and they're just like they are so like, how do they get away with this?
I think
Okay.
one thing that I will say about the drafting though is that Reckless will not be as flexible as Perkz, I feel like, in terms of draft. And so like it might be, the thing that we mentioned is, Reckless wants to play 80 carries and not much else. And I think with Perkz you had a bit more flexibility there. But like you still have so much potential in flex picks mid top, and even mid jungle top, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
And I think if you just pick, if you can like just safely say, yeah, like Reckless we'll just throw him on an 80 carry and like leave counter picks for our lanes that are more counter pickable.
For sure. Okay.
Okay.
Before we move on, I do want to talk about the Fnatic side of this. Because I think these two teams are so intertwined that whatever they do affect one another a lot. And I think that while a lot of people think that the new Fnatic roster is not going to stand up G2, and I don't think it will, I just think that I think Fnatic might have a potential to like do better this year than we saw them last year. Because I think the roster that they have now, although they lost Reckless, is a huge deal. And Upset is not Reckless, not yet, not even close. But I think that this roster fits their identity a lot better. Because I think now Fnatic has a chance to build around Bwipo and Hylissang, two of the, how do I say this, positive inters on their team. Because they're very positive inters, they're positive inter styles. And now you have Niski, who also just like kind of plays the cap slot, can run around, can play the the poke channel, can play the Zoes, can play the Gallios, can do what is needed to facilitate the team, right? And then you have Upset, who is kind of like, I think the closest thing to Reckless you could get, right?
Yeah.
Like a traditional
I mean,
80
yeah.
carry that really just like plays the style that Reckless does. I think Upset is the perfect replacement. Is the only replacement in my opinion, other than maybe Crowny. And they picked up Upset. So I think Fnatic have a chance to contend for sure.
Yeah.
What do you guys
I'm just
think?
gonna say, the games between Fnatic and G2 will be amazing. Like
Yeah.
the fact that like they're both gonna be playing like hyper aggro styles, it's gonna be like, I can just see like none of these teams. I mean, they can play slow, but they're
They're
be.
not gonna
They're
play
not
slow,
gonna
they're
play
gonna
slow.
fight like
Play
minute
slow.
one. It's gonna be
Yeah,
really
no.
fun. You're right. I'm really excited to
Yeah.
watch these teams in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Kenny, you put it best in saying like this is the best like form of Fnatic that they could build.
They could-
Like
yes.
with what they have left, like
Absolutely.
this is the way that they want to play it, I
Yeah.
guess.
So I think LEC next year is still gonna be top 2, top heavy, and then everybody
Yeah.
else pretty much, right?
But
And whoever
that's the way
takes
it's
up-
been for the past few years.
Yeah, the rotating rogue Mad Lion spot or whatever can take that spot, right? But like it's still gonna be Fnatic, G2, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked about a lot of the major moves, I don't think I missed anything, right? I don't think there's any more major moves that we want to talk about. Like we talked about Fnatic Niski, but
TL Alfari?
ooh,
I think
you're
that's the
right.
only major other one. Like,
And I
but
guess
think
TSM PoE too.
and
Okay,
TSM PoE
okay.
as well.
TL
Like we just
Alfari,
talk about the
TSM.
TSM and TL rosters.
Yeah, which is what I
let's
kind of
just-
wanted
let's just
to
go back to NA.
Let's do that,
Let's just
right?
go back
Okay.
to NA and talk rosters. I think.
So we're gonna now as we're saying we're now gonna talk about some of the rosters in NA, what has come out. A lot of the rosters have been solidified, and we're gonna be shifting our focus back to LCS. So let's move to the two rosters that we just talked about, TL and TSM. TL, a very possibly the most stacked roster they've had in a very long time. Alfari top. Oh my god, I'm blanking.
Santorin jungle, Jensen mid, tactical AD carry, Corey JJ support.
Okay, before we start, Santorin, best jungle NA? Yes, no.
Yes,
Yes? Okay.
yeah. I'll say for now. For now, yeah.
he
Okay,
is.
who's in
He is.
contention?
Spica, I guess.
Spica?
But Spica, no. Like Santorin
yet, dude.
made FlyQuest like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Santorin and Ignar and PoE were like.
I can see Closer contending.
Oh, I think if Closer and Spica develop, they could be really strong. But
I think like on paper for sure Santorin is the number one
Yeah.
jungle right now. I think at the end of Spring Split, like if you reevaluate at the end of spring split, I could see Closer and Spica having closed that gap, but I definitely think for now it's Santorin.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. This TL roster is so hyped.
It's
like,
so hyped, dude.
like Alfari, like you could argue that every player like on this team is top 2. I don't even think you
it
can
is top
argue.
2.
Every player has been top 2 in their position, like
for
in their
sure.
respective
Yeah.
region.
For sure.
100%.
Like, oh my god, they have Alfari.
Dude, I think,
I don't know,
think
like-
Core JJ and Tactical are the best LCS bot lane next year just because they've had a year of synergy to stick together.
Yeah.
Edward Ra, the boy Tactical, just gets better. He did such a good performance last year. I think he only has the potential to get better. That bot lane is disgustingly good. I'm so prepared.
Like, I don't think Core JJ is going to go down because we talked about it earlier. Like, people who come to NA, they either, continue to do well in NA or they kind of stagnate. Core is not stagnating.
Dude, I don't
Core
know I don't know what bad Core JJ looks like. I don't think I've ever seen that, in my opinion.
No.
Like, I just never
And
seen
then
that guy's
2018 Worlds, I guess. There's like
then-
NA has
yeah.
never played.
And then
like,
Tactical
that bad.
can only get better.
Yeah.
So I think that's easily one of the best spot lanes in NA. Jensen, I think now that Perkz is in the league, I think
Second.
like third at worst.
Ooh.
Yeah,
like-
PoE is
Put
like
PoE above
PoE.
Jensen?
I would
That's
put
a
PoE
point of
above Jensen.
argument. I like that.
It depends what champion PoE is
It depends on what champion.
Okay.
It depends on the meta. It depends on like a lot of things. But I'm saying the worst he could be is top 3.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Like before Perkz hit, the worst he could be was top 2.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I guess with Bjergsen retiring,
Yeah.
worst
Bjergsen retired, so
worst top 3. Worst top 3.
Okay, so TL roster is insane, right?
Yeah.
They're probably the favorites right now to win the league, the split. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's a huge thing to put out there. Let's talk about TSM's roster. Top on end of
Is it
We
Who?
don't know.
NA,
We don't know.
not yet here. We don't know who their top lane is. We have PoE mid, Spica jungle, and then we have their bot lane. We have SwordArt and Lost. I think I want to start with the bot lane. SwordArt and Lost.
Is lost NA.
he's Oceania, so
So yes.
not counting as
Okay,
imports.
so
PoE
I didn't want
PoE
to
resident now?
No, the reason why Huni was rumored was because Huni's technically a resident now, but PoE I believe is still
is an import.
import.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
Lost
yes.
Boy, Lost, and SwordArt. What do we think about this bot lane? A very weird combination.
Lost is very slept on in my opinion. I think he's actually really, really good. He's been the best AD carry in Academy for a while. And
Yeah.
I've just been like Lost and Streets were the combo that I was
Yeah.
looking at. But
I
TSM,
was-
they wanted Sword Art, so
You got Sword Art instead of Treats. I think you're more
yeah, I
than
think you're
happy
pretty
with that.
happy.
Dude, I feel so
think-
bad for Treats, actually. Like, because
Yeah.
he takes up an import slot, and it's just like tough to put him on a team.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
he's a really good support player.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Lost is really impressive, I think. But I think he's just waiting for his breakout. I mean, it depends. Like this roster seems very volatile to me. It could be very good, but I can also see it just being like, it's kind of mediocre.
I think I
Yeah.
see like the probably like the most common the most probable thing that will happen to this roster is maybe they don't do well the first split they are together and then build some synergy and then get better the next split. So probably summer I would say they would peak is the vision that I have for this TSM roster, but I also don't know.
TSM's also really impatient though. Like, it doesn't work.
Dude, I like what are they gonna do to Spica? I wonder. Is Spica gonna, die out because of all this?
See,
Or...
here's the funny thing. You look at the TSM roster. Spica's the veteran player on the roster now. Like veteran TSM player.
Okay, they have PoE.
This roster gives me very like 2019
No, I mean like
spring
veteran
TSM
like
vibes.
veteran like TSM player.
Oh,
like he's
okay,
a
yeah.
standing TSM
it's
player
like-
on this. Unless you count Lost as like Academy TSM, but like PoE's a new player, Sword Art's a new player, Huni would be a new player, and Lost is promoted from Academy. So I think Spica's like, and I think TSM. It's weird to me that they got rid of Broken Blade. Like I understand now, like they wanted an NA top laner, but like Broken Blade Spica was going to be the young core that I wanted to see them build around, and so I don't see them getting rid of Spica anytime soon. Especially considering that Lost is also a young player, and
I think from what
they-
I heard, BB had a lot of issues with the team and his role, and I think they were never able to figure out a way forward, and so They sent him off to Schalke, I think now.
Yeah, he's I think Schalke now.
Yeah. So, okay, let's say, okay, before we move on from the TSM topic, what do we think about Huni, guys? Like,
he's so washed. I
it
mean,
just
like
feels
that's
such a weird, like, no.
There's got to be another North American top laner, right?
Dude, I'm sitting
Hanser is available, but I don't know how good Hanser is.
I'm watching Jacob Wolf's
Solo's
free agency show,
available.
and I'm like,
Solo's got to be better than Huni.
Solos.
He's got to be better than Huni.
Okay, I guess, but I don't know.
Okay, I'm looking at the list right now.
Huni has like Huni's his own agent, right? I think so. Huni is like has to be like the best salesman
yes,
in North America.
on God,
Like
dude.
the fact
100%.
that every time it feels like every split it feels like he'll just like he does nothing for like a split. He'll play like a split. His team is like 9th place, like garbage. And then he just like has like these few games where he's like, holy shit, Huni's really good. And then like you sign him and then you just have a shit split. You're guaranteed to have one split where you just do nothing.
Dude, the year
like,
where he like when he was on Clutch and he popped off for a bit, then got his $3 million contract and is now
And
doing
then went to
jack
hell.
shit.
like what the fuck? How does he do it? Like he just plays like like a GP or Rumble game and he just fucking goes like 1v9. It's like holy shit.
Okay, well,
But
I'm looking at the list right now. Like, tell me, like, stop me when you hear me say a player who you think is better or at the very worst equal and probably less expensive than Huni.
Okay, I'll stop
Zion
when you get to
Spartan.
Licorice.
Zion Spartan, Viper, Ruin, Tony Top, Brandini, Alorum, Hanser, Solo. It's Hanser, right? It's gotta be
Hanser or
Hanser.
Solo is like your other options. I swear, if TSM got like Darshan or something, like no offense, but that guy's like it's like done a double cycle on the washing machine. Like that guy's like washed and like washed up,
Wash and then
really
wash again.
washed.
Wait. Are you talking about NA top lane free agents or people on a team?
Yeah, NA top lane free agents who are also NA, so like would count as the NA slot.
NA slot.
Like, I gotta at least think that you'd give Hanser or Solo a shot over Huni, right?
I would say Solo.
Maybe.
Was the only
Yeah.
one that would go with
Solo's.
See,
I think Solo's more of a meme than anything. Like I think he's
the
actually
problem
not
with-
that
I think
bad.
the problem with
I don't
Solo
think
is
Solo
he's
is that
proven he
bad,
can't play
dude.
weak side well. I don't think he can play weak side well, which is what you really need.
I mean, he was playing weak side like all the time. He just got like no resources.
Yeah, whether or not
he was
did it well
Dyrus.
or worse is the question, though, right?
He's modern version of Dyrus, but I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they got Huni. Like,
No, I wouldn't be mad. I'm just
confused in the move.
It's so dude. Okay, I was sitting
I'm
in
not
Jacob Wolf's
hyped.
free agency show, and I'm like, oh, they're announcing all the rosters, and then he's like, TSM reportedly, per sources, has signed Huni. I'm like, what the fuck? Come on, bro. Come on, man.
I don't know.
All the hype for nothing. Anyway, okay, so TSM, C9. I mean, we already talked about C9.
We talked about C9 a lot.
Right?
I think
So I think that they're a really good team. They're in contention
Yeah.
top 3. Number 4 is 100 Thieves. For me.
easily.
100 days just on paper.
On paper, bro. I think that team is good.
I think on paper and off the paper. I mean,
Okay, so
Yeah, some days-
I just really like teams that like play team really well. And I think that like the synergy between Demonte, Closer, and the bot lane is gonna matter. And it's like they're ahead of other people in terms of synergy, and that like matters a lot to me. I don't know.
I mean, you look at the roster, and it's 4/5 of a Golden Guardians team that peaked at the end of summer split, and honestly looked pretty solid in playoffs. And then
Literally
you just
this close
replaced,
to winning a championship, dude.
and then they replaced Tonser, their weakest link, with Someday, who was arguably, at times looking like a top 2.
One of the strongest top laners in NA, I think.
Top laner in NA.
He's been in Elo Hell for a while.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I mean. I feel like he's been surrounded by dog shit for a long time.
Yeah, and like I think. So you look at the 100 Thieves roster. It's 4/5 of a good roster plus like a good roster from last year plus Someday. You've got synergy already built in. You've got a top laner now who can play carry, but who can also play weak side. if you want to play towards bot lane. I think my big thing that I love about this team is their academy team and Papa Smithy going like on record and saying, hey, we want to be able to play not a 10-man roster, but a roster where our academy team can contend and scrim with our main team and like take scrims seriously, you know, have in-house scrims and basically say if we can't scrim a team that we want to scrim against, you know, which will probably be a better team or a team, you know, on their level, we'll scrim the academy team because we can at least get something out of it for both of our sides. And I think they've got players in their academy team, you know, Tenacity, Kenvi, and I was going to say Poom, but probably not considering how well FBI Huhi's been looking. But Tenacity, Kenvi is like two players where you've got people in position to, you know, contend with, you know, challenge your main roster. I think that's the biggest thing about their team.
I like that. Yeah. What do you think, Steven?
I'm just happy Golden Guardians stayed together.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of like the main reason.
The two teams that I was like, oh man, they're gonna split apart. I was thinking FlyQuest and Golden Guardians, right?
Yeah. Well, you got 50%.
FlyQuest. I like once I realized, like, I don't know, as I thought about it, I'm like, man, this roster isn't gonna stay together next year. I was like, man, I'll really miss that team.
Dude, I knew Golden Guardians were gonna stay together because if they were staying together, they would have said it in their fucking TV show. But in their TV show, they were like, nah, there might be a chance that we might not be staying together.
I mean, they didn't. They left to just join another org.
Yeah, but like this is like the best possible like world line that we could have gone down. Like I like this timeline that we're living in right now.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? They can like develop a lot.
Yeah.
I think FBI and Hui was like, we're like, man, Hui sucks at support. Why is he playing support?
Yeah.
But he's actually like spiked really hard.
Really,
like,
yeah, he's good, dude. Okay.
FBI.
So here's the thing: if not 100 Thieves, who takes that fourth spot? Like I don't even know, to be honest. It's very.
Do I have to pick somebody who's not 100 Thieves for the fourth slot?
EG. Like, can we just talk about EG? Like, damn, they got like totally like screwed over. They're like,
yeah.
Like, all right, we got Ignar. We got Ignar and Svenskar and like two like, you know, MVP level players almost, right? Like, wow. We're gonna get Nitsky, and then it was like, shit, Fnatic got Nitsky. I guess we just keep Jizuke, who's like been like, you know, kind of coin flipping his way through last year, right?
Yep.
And they're like, okay, whatever. Who's the 80? They're gonna trade for Lost, right?
Yes.
Lost 80 carry. We'll dump Hooney's bad contract, you know, and we'll get Lost, you know, up and coming 80 carry, and we got Impact here. And they're like, oh shit, that trade doesn't go through. Are they for sure getting Impact, by the way?
Don't know.
I
think it was only verbally.
Dude, I have EG on post notifications. They have not announced Impact.
Okay.
So it's not.
Hopefully, like, I'm not sure if they're getting Impact. Like, if they get Impact, it's saved.
Yeah.
If they don't get Impact, they're probably running the rumored 80 carry right now is Deathly. So their roster is unknown top laner, Svenskaren, who's good, Jizuke, who's coin flip, Deathly, who's been like fringe LCS for a while, and Ignar's good. But yeah, it's like, I think EG was coming into the offseason like, okay, we're gonna get a roster that's like, you know, we're the big five, like the top five. Like, you can definitely see, like, it's actually kind of nice that the LCS kind of split in, like, you know, the spenders and the non-spenders, right?
Yeah.
Spenders are TL, TSM, C9, not FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and EG, right? But EG is like, they're the spenders, but they didn't really get anything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. See, that's the worst place to be in any league, right? Because it's like,
you're spending
NBA,
money to be middle of the pack.
Yeah, you don't want to. You want to be either the tankers, who are like, oh, I guess you don't have draft picks, and we don't really care about that.
Yeah, but I mean, they like develop players.
Yeah, they develop players. You develop players, whatever, right? Like you have your Knicks, you have your.
The Knicks are like the EG, dude. They spend to get the first overall pick.
That's true.
Like, you have, like, you know, your Pelicans, right?
Yeah, man, dude. EG to me feels like the Minnesota Timberwolves or something. You have Cat and you have all these people, and you're just like, oh, you have Cat and D'Angelo Russell, and you're not doing anything. Like, that's what I feel when I look at EG right now. It's just depressing to me. And it's like not good because I like EG as an org, and like the rumor that's going around is that they're bleeding money, man. They need to make some of this money back, and it's like rough. Not saying that like every.
Does EG have a parent?
A parent company? No.
Yeah.
So the way it used to work is that Alliance, and this is going way back, right? Back in the early days. Alliance and EG used to be owned by one company called Good Game. And Good Game used to own Alliance and EG, but then they split off into their own companies. EG has its own set of investors now. That's why they switched the logo, got a CSGO team, different investors. Well, they rebranded, right? Because they're like a different entity now. And then, Alliance, when it's done its own thing, is owned by an old Dota player now called Loda. And Bulldog.
But so they don't have a parent company.
They don't have a parent company.
They're bleeding money.
Yeah, they're bleeding money. I mean, everybody's bleeding money. It's just like
they're
bleeding money
really bleeding,
right? Like technically, Amazon's bleeding money, but they're Amazon. Anyway, any other teams?
I'll say
FlyQuest is dark.
I'll throw FlyQuest in there.
FlyQuest is the one about Licorice, right?
Licorice, I think.
Yeah, they got.
I think if you're gonna make a better, I think EG and FlyQuest would probably compete to be the top, like the 5th team in the league. But like on paper,
what is
I think I like Fly.
Can we get it clear?
So we got Licorice top, Jose Diodo jungle, Palafox mid, Johnson and Diamond bot lane. And I think on paper I like their roster more than EG's, at least for the sake that I think you picked up 2 C9 Academy players who was the best Academy team like by far last year. And these are 2 like Palafox was I think one of the better players on C9 Academy. Even you picked up Johnson, who's like a solid, reliable bot laner.
Yeah.
You picked up Diamond, who's going to be a solid, reliable support, and then you picked up Licorice, who's going to be, a solid, reliable top lane. I think this team has a lot more solid reliability than a team like EG does. And then Jose Diodo is a bit more of a wild card in the jungle.
I think they're the dark horse this year. I think they're this year's Golden Guardians to me.
I think this team is actually constructed pretty well.
Really well, yeah.
Yeah, because like FlyQuest obviously didn't have like a huge budget going into this year, right? They are taking chances on a lot of like, up and coming talent. They have veteranship with Licorice, like someone who has experience like on the world stage and has like been known to be really good.
Really good, yeah.
Like you have Jose Diodo like up in like, from another region, wants to like move to the major regions. You have Palafox. Like Johnson's been really good. Like with Dig, he was really sought after.
Dude, people wanted Johnson this offseason. A lot of teams wanted Johnson, and FlyQuest landed him, which is really cool.
Yeah. So and
I also think FlyQuest is probably. I mean, this might be just because Santorin and Ignar. You can never tell, but I think FlyQuest has always been one of the better coach teams.
Dude, I think in general, FlyQuest has been a great organization for the past year or two.
Yeah.
Right, they've been able to even now when they're they've always been considered a budget organization, and they contended for a split 2 years in a row. Sorry, 2 splits in a row with really good with like decent players. Right?
Second place, both splits.
You can't, splits, which is insane.
You can't make an argument that they didn't perform well.
And one
in
of the splits losing to that C9 team, right? Like which literally everybody lost to. It was one of the strongest NA teams we've seen in a long time, and they. Got second both splits, considering they were still budgeting and had a really, I don't know, I just really like their organization. I really respect them. Also, their jerseys look sick.
Dude, like the team,
so good.
I think the team, like if you ignore everything that like happens on the Rift and like the actual team, I think they've got some of the best branding in the LCS.
Oh, for sure. Sequest is great. I love.
They've got they've got a great social media. Yeah. They've got like you mentioned the jerseys. Their merchandise is amazing. Like I think of all the teams like that it's the team that you can't help but want to support.
Yeah. They're like underdog, but they're actually good. Like they can be like, like that effect, like when you cheer for the underdog, right? It's like, they're fighting like, against like a greater thing. Like, okay, they're like a budgeting team. They make the most out of what they have, I think is the best. And it's like, it's so funny. It's like their branding was like, oh, this is kind of like weird. Like, they have no fans. Who's a FlyQuest fan? But man, I really like FlyQuest.
I love
they're the Brooklyn Nets before they got KD and Kyrie.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I just love about them is like it's funny because it's like they're going into the split, they're one of the underdogs, but like they're still a top 5, top 6 team.
Yeah.
It's just they're an underdog compared to the top 4. But I think like this roster
they're the most bang for buck team that you've ever seen. Like, they get value. They're just
they're the Moneyball team.
Value. I think they're Moneyball. Yeah, they're Moneyball as well.
And then like we're yet to see these players like play much at all, just in general. But like I think if And like for me, it's like I'm struggling to figure out where they're gonna win how they're gonna win games. Because like you look at some teams, like you can look at a team like C9 and say like, okay, if all else fails, Perkz will carry us. Or TL is like, if all else fails, Tactical and Core.
Literally
will, like,
anyone on that team will carry them.
Yeah, that's the thing. But like, I don't know if I see like a genuine like win condition every single game. It's more like all of these guys could be very good.
I mean,
and like. If
that's been their brand, right? That's been their team building brand for a while.
And like if you go back to your whole point of like coaching well, drafting well, like this could be the team that just out like macros you and just says, hey, we may like not be the best team like individually, but like the sum of our parts is greater. You know what I mean? And like I think this team would probably be my top 5 pick, like my 5th team pick behind the top 4.
I mean, I think after the last 2 splits, I'm always going to be really supportive of FlyQuest. So that's always going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can we talk about so I call them like there's like 3 rookie teams. There's Dignitas, Golden Guardians, and Immortals.
Yes.
I think there's 4 teams left. There's CLG, but they're like...
Omega Lord.
That's the retirement
That's
home.
the retirement home. Like the literal, it's the retirement home within the retirement
let's quickly talk about CLG. Okay. I think... We described it as a retirement home, and for the most part, that's true. See, we described it as a retirement home, and like that's true for the most part when you look at players like Pobelter and Wild Turtle who've been around forever.
Smoothie's also been around
forever.
Broxa's
a bit, but then you look at Finn, and Finn's pretty young.
Finn's pretty young, but he's not like...
He's young. He's like... And I just don't know how that move makes sense because he's an import. He's taking up an import slot. He's young, but he's not really like the type of like young talent where it's just like he's yet to foster and we can like make him bloom.
CLG is like they don't. What's the opposite of developing players? Like when's the last time you're like
players?
Yeah, like when's the last time someone went to CLG and got better? Like,
dude, I think
CLG is like
a bunch of
the
expiring contracts. Like they're just again retirement home. Like it's rough.
CLG is a relic
It is
of the LCS, and you can tell from their roster. It's very much oh wow, we got a bunch of players who played on good teams, but never was like holy shit. Like Wild Turtle like 1v9 FlyQuest to Worlds. You know, like Wild Turtle's good, but like. This entire team is just like, okay, well, Finn's the youngest, like, up-and-comer, but he's not... You can make the argument that, you know, he might have peaked on Rogue. And the thing is, imports that go to bad teams...
Don't get better.
Don't get better.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
I don't know,
have no hope for the
feels very
CLG
depressing.
roster.
Like, when I look at the team, it's just like, man, yikes.
Another
You feel
rebuilding
bad for,
year,
like,
but
Boston,
they
he's
have
such
no...
a good guy. And then...
Yeah.
Well, I think the sad thing is all the players on this team are like good guy, likable players. Like Smoothie's a likable player. Wild Turtle's definitely a likable player. Like Pobelter, he's been like around for so long. He's a well like respected guy. And Brox is one of the nicest guys. Like from what you see on Twitter and like his streams and whatnot, he's one of the nicest guys you've ever seen. And from people who have like played with him and like they have nothing but good things to say about him. I think CLG is that team where it's like. We said retirement home. It's like talking to your grandparents. It's just like you love your grandparents, you respect your grandparents, but like you don't necessarily like expect something to come out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like
they've seen better days.
Dude, like
it's like
it's just rough because it's like to me when I look at CLG, it just feels like my dad's playing League of Legends after he's like been a really good League of Legends player. Like if my dad was a really good League of Legends player like 4 years ago. And then all of them were like, "Yo, guys, let's give it one more try and let's go in the LCS and do stuff." And then CLG, and then they like added Finn because.
Well, no, because like you think back to like old Dignitas.
Yeah.
Which was it when like Echo Fox picked up?
Oh my God, Delta Fox.
Yeah, it's Delta Fox. It's
That's what
actually Delta
CLG feels
Fox.
like right now. Except this is an actual LCS like roster.
I'm not gonna say they're bad.
Huh?
Like. I don't want to say they're like guaranteed 10th place because I think some of the rookie rosters could like flop.
Yeah.
But they're not going to make worlds.
No,
they're guaranteed to be like better.
Bottom to middle of the pack.
Yeah, they're guaranteed to be bottom to middle of the pack. The weird thing is, you look at this lineup and you think, how much money are they paying for this? Because
That is my question.
we talked about EG, paying to not do well.
Yeah,
But like this team, I gotta like look at this roster and say, you've got 3 veterans, a guy who came to NA only 1 year removed to play on a good team, and a guy who you signed from what was was Rogue 3rd or 4th in the LEC. I can't remember.
Top 3.
Third.
Top 3 team from the LEC. Like your 2 youngest in quotation mark players are imports who both came to NA, and your 3 like oldest players, like they can't be cheap because they're
Oh god,
reasonably
Finn and
decent
Brox that
veterans.
take up import slots. I didn't even think about that. That's so sad.
Yeah. So like you look at this roster and say like, okay, if you're gonna take Pobelter, you're gonna take Wild Turtle, and you're gonna take Smoothie, you might as well go all the way NA, pick up like a rookie like NA talent for top jungle, and just say like, screw it, we're gonna just try to like build around some of this veteran presence and like foster some talent. Because like, and the thing is, if they went that direction, I feel like they'd get a lot more support. Because you've got 3 veterans who are just like, yeah, these guys are well-liked, well-respected people. You've got 2 like rookies who are just like, we're giving these guys a shot. We want to see them do well. And I feel like that's a decent, kind of roster experiment.
It'd be like old FlyQuest.
Yeah, it'd be like a team that you want to see them do well. You don't think they're going to do amazing, but it's like if they take a couple games, their newer players look good, their older players look like they can still compete. That's exactly what you're looking for from that roster.
Dude, I feel like honestly, CLG feels like, to be honest, feels like the Knicks of the LCS. Like they have
We've been
a very
talking about CLG
long-standing.
for a lot for a retirement home, but yeah.
No. I mean, here's my argument. Okay, the CLG has a lot of diehard fans. People love CLG, dude. Like have to like Shannon was still talking about CLG doing. I was like, who cares about CLG, man? And Shannon like still cares about CLG. Like there are people who care about CLG as a team because they still have the nostalgia from 2015, right? Like back then, and they still carry it on to this day. And they just hope that CLG will one day rebuild, but they never rebuild. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Like,
they never rebuild. This is the same as signing 4 power forwards in free agency and doing nothing in the team.
I'll be honest. Like
Yeah.
I know, like I like try and keep track of like most of, like the rosters, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you like who's been on CLG. Like I don't even remember. Like were they in last year's split? I don't remember. Like they had.
Dude, last year, summer split, everybody got real excited when they went like 4-0, 3-0 or something.
Oh yeah.
They went 3-0. Everyone was like, holy shit, CLG go 3-0 and then lose everything after.
Yeah.
Oh, they had Ruin. I remember that.
They had Ruin. And you know what happened? They signed Pobelter and like to go into summer, and everyone like was like, "Oh, Pobelter's washed up. He's been doing all." And then that was when Corky was playable, and so he played like 3 games of Corky or something. They started the split 3-0, and everyone's like, "Dude, Pobelter's looking great again. Like, will he carry CLG to like success?" And then
I don't know. CLG is like an afterthought, and I honestly don't see their role changing this year. It sucks. So sometimes they just have teams that just
I feel like they're not committing to a rebuild. Like I think again,
Yeah.
it would be a lot more respectful if you committed to a rebuild with a few veteran players, but they're just not. At least like, dude, IMT moved into that fully, right?
Yep.
Dig moved
Yeah.
into that fully. They're acknowledging, they're like, we're just gonna develop talent for like a year or 2 and then see where they go, and that's like very respectable. I think that's so much better than what CLG is doing, signing like a bunch of old has-beens. Like it's rough,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, like
All right,
on
you
that
wanna
note, let's talk about some of these younger rookie teams, because I really like some of these rookie teams. And let's start with Golden Guardians, because like we've talked a lot about them already. Niles and Iconic. Let's start with that.
Yeah, they're Maryville guys, right?
Yeah.
Maryville collegiate esports.
guys for once, which is crazy. Which I'm really excited about that they moved collegiate people from Mary.
It's a huge gap. Like it's a huge jump. Because like gap makes it sound like it's a skill gap. It's not. Like it's a very large jump in terms of like the commitment, the amount of like skill and like the amount of talent that there is here. But like
The uni is Maryville, right? Not Maryland. I don't want to get it wrong.
It's Maryville, I believe.
It's
Maryville,
Maryville.
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I think-
Steven, you play competitive a little bit, or like you
What?
paid attention a little bit. How good was this Maryville collegiate team? I mean, I heard they were really, really.
They were
good.
the best. They were the best team by far.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say, I don't know, I don't want to say by far, but you always know they're gonna contend. I believe they've won. I don't know if they won last 2 years.
They won.
Wait,
Last,
let me look
I
at
know they
Maryville.
won last year. I think they won this year too.
Oh, they won UPL. Holy crap!
Yeah.
I'm looking at their achievements right now. Like every amateur league is just like they're a contender, and they've been like famous for being like like a really good team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I don't know what the best like colleges are in NCAA, but it's
Is there
like
NCAA League of Legends?
no, there isn't. No, I think it works. It works differently. It works differently.
There's not enough money to exploit in esports for NCAA to get into it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to play in a League of Legends sweatshop. But I think, they've been. Maryville's been a really good, probably the best League of Legends like university in the States. So
really cool that they
like,
took up collegiate players. Respect.
Yeah, I mean, aren't Golden Guardians the one that they had Bob Chin playing LCS? You remember that? They gave Bob Chin a couple games, so Golden Guardians, they're willing.